Alright, so picture this. New Canaan, Connecticut. One of the richest, most picture-perfect towns on the entire East Coast. We're talking mansions, perfectly trimmed hedges, the whole suburban dream thing. The kind of place where nothing bad is supposed to happen. But on the morning of October 24th, 2025, all that changed. It started with screaming. Just this young guy absolutely losing it in the woods near Gerds Road. People started calling 911, saying there's someone just yelling their head off out there. But then, another call came in. And this one was different. A man on the phone, calm, collected, and he says, "I just killed my mom and I don't know why." Yeah. Let that sink in. So police rush to the property on Gerds Road, and they find exactly what they were afraid of. 55-year-old Laura Williams is lying outside, dead, beyond saving. Next to her, a hammer, covered in blood. Inside the house, they find her son, 20-year-old Sebastian Van Stockham. His clothes are soaked with blood. He's got scratches all over his face. And he was the one screaming. He was the one who called in that confession. Now here's where it gets even darker. The medical examiner ruled it homicide by blunt head trauma, which we already knew. But according to the warrant, Sebastian admitted to using not just the hammer, but also a knife, and then his own fists to finish the job. Like what? The town did what small towns do. Left flowers. Tried to make sense of something that makes no sense. Bond was set at $2 million, and Sebastian showed up in Stamford Superior Court the next week. Here's what we know. The 911 call, the location, the weapon, the victim, all confirmed. Here's what we don't know: why. Why did this happen? Sebastian himself said it. "I don't know why." The house was trashed. Everything pointed to a violent, chaotic attack. But motive? Still a blank space. Prosecutors haven't offered any theory. Defense is asking everyone not to jump to conclusions. So we're just stuck. Laura Williams, by all accounts, was an amazing mom. Driven, creative, deeply involved in her son's life. Friends said she was the type who pushed you but also had your back no matter what. And Sebastian, 2023 New Canaan High School grad. No real online footprint. Classmates described him as quiet, awkward, kept to himself. But none of that explains this. Under Connecticut law, first-degree murder carries a minimum of 25 years to life. There's no twist here, no chase scene. Just a quiet cul-de-sac where a mom was beaten to death by her own son. And we still don't know why. I did something horrible that is unacceptable, and I realize that. But I don't deserve to die for the actions of 3 individuals. That's Christa Pike. And the Tennessee Supreme Court just set her execution date for September 30th, 2026. If it happens, she'll be the first woman executed in Tennessee in nearly 200 years. To understand why, we gotta go back to the winter of 1995. Christa Pike was just 18 years old. She was enrolled at the Job Corps Center in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's a federal program designed to give young adults a second chance at life. For Christa, though, it became something way darker. There was another girl there, Colleen Slemmer, 19 years old, friendly, maybe a little naive. And Christa became absolutely obsessed with the idea that Colleen was trying to steal her boyfriend, Tatterall Ship. It wasn't true, but jealousy doesn't care about truth. Christa spent days talking about getting revenge, bragging that she'd do it in a way nobody would ever forget. And on the night of January 12, 1995, she made good on that promise. Christa, Tatterall, and another classmate named Shadala Peterson invited Colleen off campus. Said they were going to go smoke some weed. They knew a quiet spot near the University of Tennessee's agricultural campus. Secluded, perfect, and that's where Colleen died. What happened next lasted about 30 minutes. Christa taunted her, tortured her, beat her with a chunk of asphalt, carved a pentagram into her chest with a knife, and then crushed her skull. When it was over, Christa kept a piece of Colleen's skull as a souvenir, showed it to friends like it was a trophy. The crime shocked everyone, not just because of how brutal it was, but because they were teenagers, kids. Christa was arrested within days after she couldn't stop bragging about what she'd done. She confessed almost immediately, described everything in detail, even told investigators where to find the skull fragment. In court, prosecutors called her sadistic and remorseless. The jury didn't take long. 1996, Christa Pike was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. Tatterall got life in prison. Shadala, who testified against them, only got probation. Since then, Pike has spent nearly 30 years on death row, the only woman there. Her appeals have centered on mental illness, childhood trauma, her age at the time. Her lawyers say she suffered brain damage, severe personality disorders, grew up abused and neglected, but every court upheld the conviction. Oh, and in 2012, she tried to escape prison by plotting to kidnap a guard. The plan failed. Even behind bars, she kept acting out violently. Now the clock is ticking. The Tennessee Supreme Court signed the death warrant in September 2025. September 30th, 2026. About 10 months from now. Colleen's mother, May Martinez, said the news brings relief but not joy. "I've been waiting for this for decades," she said, "but it won't bring Colleen back. If the date stands, Christa will be 50 years old when it happens. She'll have spent more time waiting to die than she ever lived before the murder." And as that date gets closer, the same old question comes back up. Is this justice, or is it vengeance? And does it even matter at this point? Humanity is not the only intelligence in the universe. We are absolutely not alone. Non-human intelligence exists. UAPs are real. They're here, and they're not human. Alright, so there's this new documentary making waves right now called The Age of Disclosure. And it's not your typical UFO conspiracy doc. This one's different, because the people making the claims, they're not random internet dudes. They're career military officials, aerospace insiders, intelligence officers, people who've supposedly seen the evidence firsthand. At the center of it all is David Grush, former intelligence officer who testified before Congress in 2023. He claimed the U.S. government has been running secret crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs for decades. Back then, it made headlines but also got dismissed pretty quickly. No proof, no photos, just words. But this documentary, it goes way further. Using interviews, classified debrief excerpts, and newly declassified materials, the film pieces together what they're calling the timeline of contact, an alleged chain of government recoveries dating back to the 1940s, continuing through the Cold War, and accelerating in the last 20 years. One of the most striking claims comes from an unnamed military contractor. He says he personally saw what he described as a biological occupant during a recovery operation in 1997 somewhere in the western United States. He doesn't call it an alien. He calls it non-human. And the filmmakers emphasize that distinction over and over. Because here's the thing. This film isn't about aliens invading. It's about the idea that they've been here all along. Observing. The director, Dan Farah, takes a really restrained approach. No dramatic voiceovers, no wild CGI recreations. Just testimony. Cold, clear, and increasingly hard to ignore. The film builds toward its most chilling moment. A leaked fragment of an alleged interagency briefing slide titled NHIS, Non-Human Intelligent Species. It outlines 3 coexisting species classifications. Experts are debating whether it's real or a hoax, but either way, it's unsettling. And the timing? It feels deliberate. In the last 6 months alone, we've seen unprecedented transparency. NASA's UAP panel released their report in September. The Pentagon acknowledged new task force initiatives. Multiple international governments have declassified their own UFO data. It's like the slow drip is over. Now it's time for something big. People who've seen the age of disclosure say it doesn't rely on jump scares or cinematic buildup. It's just calm, factual unease. The kind that leaves you staring at the sky differently afterward. At the end of the film, one of the interviewees, a retired aerospace engineer, puts it simply, they don't need to invade. They never did. They were here before we even understood what the sky was. So those were the strange and scary mysteries of the month for November 2025. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, please hit that subscribe button because it's simple, it's free, and it helps us keep bringing you more content like this. Until next time, thanks so much for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.